Paul Grewal, Coinbase's Chief Legal Officer, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
It's a huge week for digital assets in DC as Crypto Week kicked off yesterday. Three major crypto-related bills are on the table: the Clarity Act, the Genius Act stablecoin regulation bill, and the Anti-CBDC Surveillance State Act. What are you hoping is accomplished in DC this week, and are you confident we'll see some of these bills move closer to becoming law here in the U.S.?
Well, we're hoping to see progress continue on major legislation that for the first time will bring clarity to crypto and clarity to the law governing crypto for millions of Americans who clearly have made their voices heard and expressed their wishes in ways that we think Congress is responding to. I am confident that we're going to see progress in the House this week on each of the three bills that you mentioned. The Genius Act, the act that is focused on stablecoins, has already passed the Senate. And so with the House lending its support, we think this will be ready for signature by the president in short order. But it's also critically important that we make progress on the Clarity Market Structure Bill. That is the bill that would finally provide a market framework for these digital assets and clarify what regulators have what authority over these assets at what time. So we think that between the two bills, together with the anti-CBDC bill, we're going to see the House lend its support to sensible crypto rules in the United States. And we think that's critically important for America's competitiveness.
So I know the biggest legislative priority for Coinbase is that market structure package called the Clarity Act, which sets the rules for when an asset is considered a security overseen by the SEC versus when it's considered a commodity overseen by the CFTC. In fact, the crypto exchange launched a six-figure campaign last week urging Congress to pass that piece of legislation in an effort to get clear rules for crypto. Can you talk to me about this new campaign, and why do you think the Clarity Act should be the main focus right now?
Well, the campaign was very much in line with advocacy that we've engaged in for many months now. In fact, going back several years, we've said it's long overdue that the United States have a digital asset framework that defines for the first time which asset transactions fall to the jurisdiction of the Securities Exchange Commission. That confirms, for example, that the CFTC, the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, have authority over spot transactions involving digital commodities and resolve this jurisdictional fight that has unfortunately distracted us in the United States and taken our eye off the ball. We feel very strongly that while the Genius stablecoin bill will be an important marker of progress, without clarity, without a market structure within which to put that stablecoin legislation, the work will be incomplete. But the good news is we think the Congress is hearing us loud and clear, and that on a bipartisan basis, we're going to see both pieces of legislation pass.
So as you mentioned, the Genius Act already passed the Senate last month and looks to become the first standalone crypto measure signed into law. What will change for the industry and for Coinbase if the stablecoin regulation bill does in fact become law here in the U.S.?
Well, I think what you're going to see is, for the very first time, U.S. law recognize that stablecoins are indeed an important element of our financial future and financial system. Millions and millions of Americans have made it clear they want to have choice in their financial system that stablecoins in particular offer. This is critical infrastructure for payments that people make, not only within the United States, but across borders all over the world. And that recognition by U.S. law is critically important for confidence in this market and for major institutions to have the confidence to know that they can make investments in this technology and know that it will be recognized by U.S. law.
So some of these crypto-related bills could be held up as Democrats have concerns about President Trump's growing crypto empire. In fact, some House Democrats have chosen their own nickname for this week, calling it Anti-Crypto Corruption Week. House Financial Services Committee ranking member Maxine Waters and other committee Democrats are calling on lawmakers to vote no on the Clarity and Genius Acts, which they claim give the president the green light to continue crypto dealings in his name. What do you think this all means for those crypto-related bills the House is set to vote on this week?
Well, I think it's unfortunate that those who profess to have concerns about this technology and claim to want to protect consumers and investors are resisting rules that would strengthen protections for consumers, strengthen protections for investors in ways that we think are long overdue. The fact of the matter is that while there is a certain minority of legislators who have expressed hostility to these bills, many Democrats are going to join the vast majority of Republicans in supporting this legislation. And we think that speaks to, I think, where the balance of the debate really now lies in the Congress. I also think it's quite telling that even as certain Democrats on the committee have expressed hostility to the proposed legislation, we understand that House Democratic leadership is not whipping actively against the bill, and each individual congressperson will be able to vote their own conscience and vote for what they believe is sensible policy. And we think in this case that means voting yes for genius and voting yes for clarity.
The president said he wants to sign stablecoin legislation by Congress's August recess, and administration officials indicated a desire to see a market structure bill sent to his desk in that same time frame. Do you see that happening now? Is that even realistic?
Well, I think it is realistic. The president has been very clear that when it comes to the market structure bill, he would like to have a bill ready for signature no later than September 30th. And while it's true that there is a fair amount of work that still needs to be done in the Senate, we are encouraged that a significant number of Democrats are joining Republicans in committing to work through whatever concerns and issues remain regarding the Clarity Market Structure Bill and get to a final vote and a final approval by that deadline. I think it's critically important that whether you love crypto or whether you hate crypto, you acknowledge, and I think we see policymakers acknowledging this, that rules for crypto are the way to address any concerns. And so we think that's what's going to happen in the Senate, as we believe it will happen in the House as early as tomorrow.
Today, Fair Shake, a political action committee focused on the crypto industry, announced that as of June 30th, it has $141 million cash on hand. That includes an additional $25 million contribution from Coinbase. The crypto exchange is Fair Shake's biggest donor, contributing a total of nearly $100 million to date. Why was it important for Coinbase to donate an additional $25 million, specifically now ahead of the upcoming midterm elections?
Well, our support for Fair Shake is a reflection of our support for enacting sensible rules for crypto on a bipartisan basis. The fact of the matter is that when we first engaged in that process last year, we made it very clear that we were not simply looking to lend support for one election cycle or for one set of candidates, that we would be engaged in a sustained long-term commitment to electing pro-crypto members of Congress who understand that whether you have these concerns or whether you're more optimistic about the technology, you need to have legislation in place in order for there to be durable solutions. And so for Coinbase, Fair Shake has been an important way for those views to be reinforced. And we're quite delighted and frankly quite proud of our support for its work and for the work that it's done to elect those types of candidates.
So what do you think Fair Shake is going to do with all this money now that the industry's crypto agenda is being tackled on Capitol Hill? Why do you think there's a need to pump more money into this PAC right now?
Well, while we're hopeful that the legislation we've been discussing will pass and that this will mark a transformation for not just the industry, but for investors and consumers alike, the work will always continue on a going forward basis. There remain outstanding, important questions regarding crypto policy that are not addressed in this bill. For example, crypto tax policy, I think, is going to be an important area of focus in the months and even years ahead. And we want to make sure that legislators are grappling with these issues, who bring a common sense, pragmatic approach to these questions and avoid any rigid ideologies or any rigid opposition to enacting any kind of rules whatsoever. We think Fair Shake has been effective in promoting that in the past, and we think it will continue to be effective on a going forward basis.
Switching gears, we saw the SEC and a bunch of states drop lawsuits against Coinbase recently, and yet Oregon actually filed a lawsuit against the company back in April, alleging the firm violated securities laws in the state. Coinbase launched a countersuit last week seeking public records. Now, you posted on X about this, arguing that Oregon's governor and AG flip-flopped on digital assets behind closed doors. What's the latest with these lawsuits, and why do you think this is the one state taking legal action against a crypto company when others seem to be dropping them?
Well, it's quite unfortunate Oregon has chosen to pursue claims and a case that have been rejected at the SEC and all across the country. And we think it's critically important that Oregon explain why it has reversed course from just a short while ago when it took the position that these types of digital asset transactions were not subject to securities laws. In bringing our suit against the governor last week, we've simply asked for documents that would shed light on this change in policy and change in position so that not only Coinbase, but frankly, the Oregonians who we serve and many others interested in these issues can understand the basis for this sudden reversal of course. It's unfortunate the governor has chosen to deny public access to these documents and prevent transparency into her line of thinking. But that's why we have courts, and that's why we're confident that just as we've gone to court to pursue transparency at the federal level against the SEC, the FDIC, and other agencies, we felt obligated to do it here, and we're confident we will prevail.